SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
William Carey University Athletics.
Every sport you find exciting.
Crusader Talk.
Crusader Talk. And now.
This is Crusader Talk. Crusader Talk. We're covering everything William Carey University Athletics. From the field to the court and the diamond on SuperTalk Hattiesburg 97.3 and SuperTalkHattiesburg.com.
And it is right. It is Crusader Talk. Glad to have you with us today as, man, I love the rhythm that we're in, Josh. Because you know why? We can talk about yet another championship. I don't have Freddie Mercury.
Championships.
I don't have Freddie queued up or anything like that this go around, just because, I mean, I don't want to bore everybody with the monotony of it all. But hey, an SSAC tournament championship for Coach Wendy Hogue and the Lady Crusader softball team. Congratulations to them. And coming out of the losers bracket, too. Quite a feat. They did a really good job out there in Decatur on the weekend to pull that one out.
Oh, they certainly did. And we're going to hear from Wendy later here in the podcast. And no, that is a happy coach. That is a coach that is certainly not satisfied, but so proud of her team and what they were able to accomplish. And, you know, they believe. They believed in themselves. They respected the game, is what she talks about all the time. And, you know, if you respect the game, it will respect you back. And they did that. But what felt like maybe a little bit of a Mobile party going into that tournament, Carey kind of took that to heart. Didn't really talk about it a lot, but internalized that. So as you'll hear, she kind of felt like the underdogs a little bit in that tournament, and were able to put that to good use and get a tournament championship and go out and get the double. And so now 39 wins, Caleb, 39 and a host site. And we'll be talking more about what that looks like. But that's going to be a 5-team opening round in Hattiesburg starting on the 11th.
Yeah, just let's look through all the games that Carey played over in Decatur for that SSAC tournament. Honestly, the first game was probably the rockiest, even though it was a win. It was 7-3 victory over Thomas. They trailed 1-0 after the top of the first inning, got the lead back, were tied again as Thomas puts a single run up in the second inning, but then just kind of cruised the rest of the way en route to a 7-3 win. But after that, all shutouts the rest of the way, either for or against. A 4-0 shutout of Blue Mountain. They drop a 1-0 decision to Mobile on Friday, come back against Blue Mountain again to win 2-0, and then they're just 2-0, 2-0 in the final games on Saturday as they force the if necessary game against Mobile and come through in the championship game with Ryan Hornsby in the circle to wrap up an SSAC tournament championship. Josh, it just feels right now that softball, even when they're knocked down, they find a way to come back. And looking back through the schedule on the year, just one time that I can see since conference play began that Carey posted 2 losses in a row, and that was in a matchup with Tennessee Southern back in early April, and then a loss that followed. Let me double check that. No, check that was mid-April, April 18th and April 24th, the losses to Tennessee Southern and Mobile, 2 road games as well. But nevertheless, just thinking about what this softball team can do come tournament time, they have got the pieces in full force, especially given what they were able to do over in Decatur.
Yeah, it's the Ryan Hornsby of freshman and sophomore year, right? 1.96 ERA, 12-4 record. She has now better than a 2-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio. Opponents are batting only 255 against her. And then you couple that with Jaden Sawyer, who we've been talking about her playing like a first-team All-American for a while. Her ERA is at 0.8 now. 0.8. 22-3 record. And she's got 232 strikeouts. So she is having an all-time type of season. She's going to put her name in the elite notches in the record book, and she'll be keeping great company. And so when you have the pitching coupled with the defense and then the timely hitting that we saw in that tournament, again, these are things that you'll hear from Coach Hogue about later. That's the recipe for championships.
And speaking of championships in the postseason, it was announced on Friday that William Carey softball will be hosting postseason action at Joseph and Nancy Fail Field. So William Carey not only securing their tournament hopes with the berth from the SSAC tournament, but also securing the fact that they are a host site. Them and Mobile both SSAC representatives, and it's always good to be a host team come tournament time.
Well, softball fans travel well traditionally anyway, but it's just something about Carey softball and Wendy Hogue. Coupled that with now Wendy and Kinley and all of the rich relationships they've built throughout the Pine Belt and beyond throughout the years, knowing they've won a couple of championships, even when they've been on the road, teams have been following them on social media. Now that they're coming home, there's going to be a lot of folks, and I mean a ton of folks that are excited about the opportunity to see them play again on this historic journey. And so I think the crowds are going to be standing room only. I think we're really in for a treat next week.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. I need to go back and look historically at when was the last year that William Carey did not host the postseason in one regard or another, either baseball or softball, because we have a streak going right now, at least to the pandemic, and I want to say even predating the pandemic. I have to go back and look at 2019 just to be sure, but I know that I believe it was 2018, we had a host site for both of them. So again, I'll have to go back and look. That's a long time ago to try to figure that all out. But I'm pretty sure softball was a host in 2019 as well. So we've got a good streak going of hosting. Baseball, on the other hand, going to be on the road as the host sites were released on Friday. Did not include William Carey's name, and so the Crusaders will travel on the baseball end. And Coach Halford has a couple ideas. There's a lot of regional flair that could end up being the host site for Carey. You'll hear from him later on in the show about that as well. But when it comes to the SSAC tournament, Josh, baseball had their ups and their downs. You know, they had a decent win back on day one of the tournament and kind of expected that against Tennessee Southern, although you dropped a decision to them earlier in the year. But you come back in what was a tough game against Thomas. They win 9-8, and then it becomes a winner goes to the championship game between Carey and Loyola, and Carey drops it 12-5, and Loyola ends up winning the whole SSAC tournament. So congratulations to the Wolfpack on that effort, as they win an automatic qualifier just by making it out of Pool B. But nevertheless, they will be in the opening round. Abraham Baldwin is guaranteed a spot. William Carey, a very likely at-large candidate given their resume. And then after that, just kind of depends on what the committee thinks of Thomas and the way they finished off the year. They didn't make it out of the pool. They dropped 3 games in a row to Bruton Parker. Maybe a tough sell. We'll see. William Carey's got a little bit of their history on their side, even though they're not a host school this year. But we'll probably break down a little bit of that coming up in the third segment as we break down baseball. But altogether, it's pretty exciting, I would say, especially for you, Josh, to get to have a couple softball games left to call.
Yeah, and a quick thought before we transition from baseball in this segment. I think Thomas is that odd team out, or one of the odd teams out, losers of 5 out of 6. And as you mentioned, that Bo Chip ranking, that RPI ranking dipped into at least the 80s. So I just don't see a spot for them. Carey never fell off the ledge, so to speak, this year in baseball. They were consistently basically winners of 2 out of 3 all year long. I absolutely think they're in. And then you mentioned softball, the excitement of having that tournament. Yet preparation for that is going to begin in earnest Wednesday into Thursday of this week. I mean, it is here because we'll be having first pitch of game 1 the morning of Monday the 11th. So, I mean, that is just right on our doorstep.
Yeah, very, very close. And the opening round will begin next week. Is it a Tuesday start or a Monday start for the softball side of things?
You know, that's what I was mentioning. Yes, when I said preparation, yes, Monday start, Monday morning start on Monday the 11th. So, I mean, it is the if necessary day is on Thursday, where I may need to bring you out of the bullpen if you don't have another little Hamill to hold in your arms because you're on baby watch. But, yeah, we might have to bring you out of the bullpen if you're still available.
And if you are curious about when things will be released, it will commence on Wednesday in the late afternoon to early evening, and basically it's a premiered YouTube video that drops on the NAIA YouTube channel where you will find out the softball and baseball brackets. Again, Carey already knows where they're going to be. They're going to be at home at in Hattiesburg. They just don't know who's coming to town and if they're a 1 seed or not. Then on the baseball end, where will Carey end up? Who will be in that bracket? It's not a terrible thing to be on the road for a chance to make it to the NAIA tournament. It's been done before many times. Carey has made it to Lewiston before on the road, but most recent trips have all been at home, as a matter of fact. So that's going to be a little bit of a change. But coming up in this next segment, I do want to get to that interview with Coach Wendy Hogue because, as you can imagine, a very excited bunch coming out of yet another championship, this time in tournament style, which kind of gears them up for an NAIA tournament on the horizon. Again, coming up Monday, teams TBA, but Coach Hogue and company are primed up and ready for the taking for a chance to go out to Columbus, Georgia to face off against teams for a national championship. Carey looking for their first national championship since 2020. It was a track and field team that won that one first. Ball sport championship since 2018 is what both of these teams are in the hunt for. So, softball conversation coming up with Coach Wendy Hogue on the other side of this timeout. You're listening to Crusader Talk.
You're listening to Crusader Talk on SuperTalk Hattiesburg 97.3 and SuperTalkHattiesburg.com.
All right, continuing on here on Crusader Talk as we are talking everything postseason now. And we are finally into the month of May. And by the way, I didn't mention earlier, happy May the 4th to all you Star Wars fans out there. Hope you got your lightsaber ready. Maybe you got a marathon plan for after you listen to the show tonight. But that reminds me, we had May the 4th and Cinco de Mayo for postseason baseball a couple years back. Because, Josh, you and I were on the call, I know, for a Cinco de Mayo showdown because I had that home run call of uno dos, gone without a trace. But we've had some fun over the years with some of these holidays and whatnot.
You have fun no matter whether it's Taylor Swift themed or Cinco de Mayo. Any excuse you have to keep it lively in the booth, you're going to have fun with it.
I didn't have one of those this year where I try to map out a really fun broadcast. We did that during football season. A lot of our crew got together and we started trying to factor in Journey songs into a broadcast. We never got the compilation back together. I need to see about those guys pulling their clips from last year and we can get that all together. But nevertheless, happy May the 4th out there to you all. So Wendy Hogue and Josh caught up earlier today, and Coach Hogue just had some remarks. First of all, on the preparation in the fields of coming off of an SSAC tournament championship.
Well, we were extremely confident going in. The girls, we've said all year that preparation is what breeds confidence, and we had prepared. They were confident, but the night before the tournament begins is a banquet, and it was really nice. The conference does a good job with that. The city of Decatur does a good job. And but when they started calling the awards, and there were some things, and man, the conference is just full of talented young ladies. But there were a couple of our players that we felt like deserved to be first team all conference, and then a couple more who deserved to be on that all conference team, and their name wasn't called. And there were some other teams that had a good bit that we had played pretty well that were on there, and so that just kind of, without being, I think there was some disappointment, but at the same time, our team, we did stand up there and we got that trophy for the championship, for being champions of regular season. And so the girls were fine, but it kind of went unsaid. It was just, okay, so this is how it's going to be. But I feel like, looking back on it now, we only played the other side of the conference one time. And so they don't see, and we, 3 of our conference losses, 2 were to, UT Southern, and 1 was to ABAC. And the rest of those teams, they didn't see us, but the one doubleheader. So it's, and that just goes to show it doesn't matter what everyone else thinks or what everyone else thinks of you. A lot of the voting and the awards, that's subjective, and we want to get out there and play the game because that's what's objective.
And so to be able to get off to a great start in day one, then be able to overcome the adversity in day two in a tough one-run loss, and then to bounce back through the loser's bracket, get to the championship round where you got to win two, and to get it done. That's got to be, it's hard to rank teams throughout the years, but that's got to be as proud as you have been at any team in any tournament.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I don't like to call it the loser's bracket. I call it the try harder bracket. You still got another opportunity. So once it was a 1-0 to Mobile. It was every game that we've played them, other than these last two, have been one-run losses either way. And we've misplayed a couple balls. I think they scored them as hits, but it's plays we normally make in that first inning that gave them a run. And so we knew that still we had beat ourselves that game. We still had not been beat. So then the next day to come back, but then you have to play a Blue Mountain again, and that's the 6th time, and that's a really good team. So it's tough to beat somebody 3 or 4 times, but 6 times in a row. But then they came out and they got it done. That was a game that got us prepared mentally and physically for the next day. And, just woke up feeling really good. The girls were so calm. It was pre-game talk. They said it. They all had something to say. They knew what to do, and they went in there with a plan and they executed it.
Elite pitching, elite defense, and then timely hitting is what the game of softball is about, and that's exactly what Carey was this weekend.
Well, runs are fun, and you got to score at least one to win, but I think defense and pitching wins championships, and our team's had that all year. But I'll tell you, Jaden Sawyer and Ryan Hornsby, they pitched their tails off this weekend. They really, really did. Defense made some crazy good plays. We had a couple girls named to the Golden Glove team, and but the entire 9 that were on the field out there, I felt like there was Golden Gloves on everybody this weekend. And then it was the big hits. It was you scratch a base runner or 2 here or there, and then we got a couple 2 out, 2 strike big hits. So that was good to see. Somebody always steps up and comes through, and it was fun for sure.
Well, and to be able to take that now, knowing you're coming home to an opening round, there'll be a 5-team opening round beginning at 11 a.m. on Monday, and there'll be 3 games a day through those first 3 days is the way we're kind of, at the time of this podcast, we'll have all the details. It will all be crystallized when we talk to you again, and we'll record that later in the week for the weekend, so you'll have it ahead of Monday's opening round. But Coach, just to be home and to have the fans to be able to come back and celebrate this team and get to watch them play more with a chance to punch your ticket to the World Series. What an opportunity that these ladies have offered themselves.
Yes, that was one of our, when we had the vision, we don't set a ton of goals. We formulate a vision. We all see the same thing, and then there's steps that we take to get there. And part of that vision was getting back to Joe and Nancy's place out here. That's what we call our field, and to William Carey. We think our fans are the greatest on the planet. We think our community is great. Obviously, our facility, our administration, our staff who works our tournament, and just the chance to get these 5 seniors an opportunity to come back and play at home one more time. We had a lot of fans reaching out to us after we found out we were a host bid. Hey, we're so excited we get to see you in person again, and all. So it's exciting, and something we won't find out who's coming, and like you said, until Wednesday. But man, until then, we're just going to keep doing what we've been doing, and glad to be back in Hattiesburg.
That's right. We're going to have postseason softball at Joseph and Nancy's place, and you can tell there's excitement brewing inside that locker room, and the fan support as well. Administration does a great job putting in the bid every year and making sure this is a host site possibility for William Carey.
Yeah, cue the cheers music, right? You want to go where everybody knows your name. That's what I think about when they call it Joseph and Nancy's place. I love it. This team, that was something they were playing for. It was certainly not forefront in their minds, but it was certainly something they carried with them in Decatur. And then what a storybook week for the team, just to make the plays when they had to make the plays. Big hits, clutch defense, some gold gloves in that group, making some plays this weekend. You had 4 named to the all-tournament team. Ryan Hornsby, MVP honors, goes 3-0 with an ERA of 1, got a complete game shutout in the 2-0 championship game win over Mobile, and then Jaden Sawyer, Kinley Hogue, and Julia Shaw join her on the all-tournament team. So it was a memorable week, and it's going to, I think, serve them well with momentum into this week.
That's right. And the full field will be announced at 5 o'clock Central Time on the NAIA YouTube channel. It's at Play NAIA, if that's how you want to look it up. But if you just look up NAIA, it's probably going to be the first user or channel that you can select there. Each opening round is a double elimination format. You got 8 sites hosting 5 team brackets. There are going to be 2 that host 4 teams. And Carey is one of those host sites. The other SSAC team is Mobile as a host. And then top down in the order alphabetically of hosts for the tournament include Central Methodist out of Missouri, Cumberlands, we know about them, Lindsey Wilson out of Columbia, Kentucky, Oklahoma City, Oregon Tech, Science and Arts out of Oklahoma, Southeastern out of Florida, and then Southern Oregon over in Ashland, Oregon, along with William Carey and Mobile. So that is the list of 10 host sites for the I'm so used to saying SSAC tournament, for the NAIA opening round. And all broadcasts of the games will be on the Urban Edge Network. They will be absolutely free this year, so no paywall in front of it for any of the rounds or any of the host sites. So if you want to tune into what's going on over in Mobile or Cumberlands, you can check it out all right there for free. That's $0.00. Minus whatever cost it is for your internet service provider at the Urban Edge Network. Well, yeah, go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, Caleb, a thought here that I had for you, and I look at, Carey, Faulkner, Mobile in Faulkner, a top 25 team that is not hosting. Blue Mountain, 38-win Blue Mountain. Maybe not the strength of schedule, but 38 wins still. They're getting in, right?
I could. And it just kind of depends on where that ARC ranking is and all the other things that the selection committee goes into to try to figure out what they're made of. William Carey and the Southern States Athletic Conference are in the East bracket of the softball selection ARC process. And so the at-large representatives have just a certain bit of criteria that they follow. The primary criteria is overall record, winning percentage, their area rating, their Massey rating, their RPI, and their strength of schedule. After that, conference record, head-to-heads, and common opponents all come into play with some other things considered even further down in the order. So with an overall record like that, it's quite possible. It's just going to be determined based off what some of these other teams in the area and across the nation are doing as well and how they match up. But we will see just how many teams the SSAC can put in the softball tournament. We'll also see where baseball will end up. That's where we're headed next on the podcast, so stay tuned. You're listening to Crusader Talk.
You're tuned in to Crusader Talk on SuperTalk Hattiesburg 97.3 and SuperTalkHattiesburg.com.
All right, moving right along here on Crusader Talk. Glad you're with us here on this Monday. If you missed the conversation we had with Coach Wendy Hogue, or that Josh had with Coach Hogue earlier in the podcast, you're listening on SuperTalk Hattiesburg right now. You can catch us on demand wherever you get your podcasts. You just search for Crusader Talk, or you can find us online at supertalk.fm. It's even linked through the Carey Athletics website as well, careyathletics.com. So no reason you can't be in tune and in the know for all things William Carey when you got all those resources at your fingertips. Now, speaking of resources, William Carey Baseball has had at times the resources to get some key wins, but every now and then they hiccup when it comes to the pitching rotation. In this past weekend, or I guess it's week because their time over in Jackson, Tennessee ended on a Friday. But nevertheless, William Carey was able to get a pair of wins, one that was almost unlikely, if you want to even call it that, as they run-ruled Tennessee Southern. Matthew Davis pitched a gem, went I think 6 1/3, didn't pitch the full 7 in what was a run rule victory, 15-1. But he does end up getting his 11th win on the season. And, went 6 innings. Caleb Ogell finished off the game with 1 inning of work. And after that, William Carey is able to get a come-from-behind victory against Thomas. And Josh, you watched a little bit of this. I was kind of following along with stats. This is just the craziness that is NAIA baseball. Carey finds a way to give up 6 runs in the top of the 6th inning, and the starter for the Crusaders, Everett Thompson, could not record an out. He faced 3 batters, gave up 2 walks, and hit a batter. Didn't give up a hit, but he immediately gets chased. Blaze Lalonde comes in. He has trouble just getting 2 outs and gives up 4 hits. And again, the other batters were retired on ground outs. And then finally, Dylan Wallace comes in to just get the final out of that first inning. And you blink, and it's 6-0. Carey's able to get a couple runs in the first just to kind of make it a little bit closer. Get another in the second. Okay, you've cut the deficit in half. Oh, then what happens? Thomas just adds a pair back to extend their lead to 8-3. You're like, okay, here we go again. But then Carey starts to piece it together. 2 in the 4th, 1 in the 5th. You look up, it's 8-6. Okay, this is something that we might have going in our favor. You get to the 7th inning, and Taylor Walters comes up. He's able to, with, I believe it was 1 runner on, 2 runners on. You had DJ Booth at first. Alan McLean was on second, and Nick Arnder at third. So he flies out to center. Arnder tags and scores. A sac fly gives Carey a run. It's now a 1-run game, 8-7. Jaden Mark gets walked. Now the bases are loaded again. Thomas makes a pitching change. Again, 8-7 in favor of Thomas. And they walk in the tying run. Franklin Hernandez takes the walk. And then a wild pitch, wouldn't you know it, scores the go-ahead run as Carey takes a 9-8 lead. Next 2 hitters strike out to finish off the 7th. But Carey's pitching holds. Jimmy Johnson gets a save, and they win it 9-8 in just a crazy game. Rarely do you see a team go down 6-0 in the first inning and find a way to come back and win it. But Carey does just that. They score 9 runs on just 7 hits. And capitalize on some miscues from the pitching side and the fielding side for Thomas. And that's the way they come away with the victory to advance to the winner goes to the championship game against Loyola. They unfortunately dropped that one. Just pitching kind of ran out there. As both in games 2 and 3, starting pitching just was a weakness for the Crusaders with Everett Thompson in that Thomas game, and then against Loyola, Josh McCord, he goes 3 1/3, which is, about what you'd expect from him, but he still gives up 5 runs, and then the bullpen just didn't quite have it moving forward the rest of the game. But all in all, you're set up for what you would imagine is a postseason run, still leaving it in the hands of the committee to gather you as an at-large team. But overall, Josh, to go 2-1 of the week feels like a solid performance for William Carey.
Oh, yeah, it was a solid performance. And I want to go back to the craziness of that win over Thomas. I had to bring my son back from the ledge when the Atlanta Braves, fell down 5-0 in the first inning to the Rockies. And I said, hey, it's not over. I said, remember what Carey did just a couple of nights prior? Well, the Braves went down 6-0 and then ultimately tied that game, and then were able to get a 2-run homer from Michael Harris to win that game.
What a call by Ben, by the way, on that. Did you hear that?
Oh, tremendous call by Ben Ingram, who we both know and are fortunate enough to call a colleague and a friend. And, and by the way, the voice of the Atlanta Braves along the Braves radio network. And so as he mentioned right after that home run, like, this team in Atlanta just keeps doing things that are crazy, and they're only, 36 games in. So for Carey to do it and the Braves to do it within about a 48-hour span, it's funny how your eyes get attuned to something and then you almost like see history repeat itself. Mm-hmm. But what that does for you as Carey is that it gives you the confidence to know now moving forward, you are not out of any game. And I know they already knew that, and I know that's something that is ingrained into them by this coaching staff. But hats off. If you want to know about the character of the guys that are in that locker room and in that dugout, that Thomas game told you everything you needed to know.
Well, I mean, and it's a mirror image of what happened in the regular season finale against Blue Mountain. You were down 6-0. Later, you were down 7-3, and you find a way to put up an 8 spot in the 8th inning and win it 12-8. And teams have comeback ability, especially the further you get into a team's rotation of pitchers. You have a lot more opportunity for an explosive inning like that. And that's exactly what Carey was able to do in a way, not an explosive inning, but just a piecemeal together performance to get just enough, getting that one-run victory against Thomas. Now, meanwhile, Loyola, they had the solid pitching to get them through that finale as Franklin Fernandez comes in to relieve Hunter Ponson, who struggled early, did not record an out and gave up 2 runs, but settled things down. He gave up a couple, but still Fernandez went 7 innings and really closed the door on William Carey, forcing a lot of flyouts. My goodness. Carey flew out 11 times against him, only grounded out 5, did not strike out a ton, but just trying to hit balls into the outfield, and they were just lazy pop-ups a majority of the time, more often than not. And Carey loses that Friday matchup to Loyola 12-5. But Coach Halford and you caught up earlier today, and this is what Coach had to say just about the performance in the SSAC tournament and an outlook looking forward on the NAIA.
Yeah, I thought we played well, the first 2 days, and then the third day against Loyola, we just didn't. We jumped out and should have put up more runs in the first inning. Had a base running mistake that kind of took us out of a real big inning, and then we just didn't get a good start. I mean, that's kind of been our nemesis the last few weeks, is that we're not getting that third start a lot of times, and that kind of comes back to bite you. But and I'm not a big fan of pool play. I mean, you take a team that goes in there, that's just struggling 20-30 or whatever, and they win 3 games and get to the championship day, and they get to go to a regional. So that's something that I'm just not real. I wasn't pleased with it when they did it, and I just still don't. I don't like that format, and I think that as a conference and as an organization, we need to look and see what the what I call the top of the food chain, and whatever they're doing at Division I and the SEC or whatever, we need to model ours after that, because it's working. And so that's the thing that just kind of comes back, because see, we could have lost a game possibly on the second day, and then beat Loyola on Friday, had a 2-1 record, and would have been in the championship round. So, and that happened last year. We were 3-0. And they were 2-1, and then we had to play them on Saturday, winner take all. So I'm just not a big fan of that.
And no, when you look at this team now with 35 wins, with a low 30s, high 20s in terms of RPI for the William Carey Crusaders, your thoughts on postseason and your thoughts on where you think this team will travel for the postseason?
That's a good question. I think we've done enough for sure to get in. And of course, you never know in this business, and so nothing's sure. There's a lot of different scenarios. I mean, you could go closer. You could go to southeastern Florida. You could go to Gwinnett. You could go to LSU Shreveport. You could go to Kingsport. So those are some places that we're kind of thinking. But the NAIA has done a good job of maybe spreading it out, where you're not regionalizing these tournaments where all the best teams are. And I think that's the big thing that I think is a negative about Division II, is that they're playing in the Southeast, and they just keep playing each other, the same people, and some of the tougher teams are playing each other and knocking each other out. And that used to happen in the NAIA, and they did a really good job of sending teams all over, kind of moving it around where you don't have a concentration of all the good teams in one area beating each other up or knocking each other out. So that's the thing that I'm really pleased with, is our format.
Well, I think Carey's in. I know there's a little bit technically that hangs in the balance, but I think the Crusaders' resume is there. And as you heard Coach Halford point out, there's a handful of regional teams that are hosting that could be logical destinations. Carey's been to Gwinnett recently. I want to say back in 2019 may have been there. I have to go back and double check it. But it's at least recent history that William Carey traveled out there to Gwinnett. You also could end up at Southeastern. They're now hosting tournaments. They're not traveling as one seeds anymore. So you could end up in Lakeland, Florida. LSU Shreveport, also a possible destination. The Kingsport Regional, or opening round, or Cumberland is a little bit further north, but we've seen Carey basketball be sent there before. So it's within the realm of travel distance, right there on the bleeding edge, to where Carey could end up there. Unlikely that Carey would travel further out than that, like to Bellevue or Doane, Nebraska. Kansas Wesleyan, LC State unlikely to host Carey, nor Taylor, Indiana. But all in all, we'll all find out on Wednesday where Carey ends up.
Yeah, I'm just excited that I really do think they're in, like you said, a 35-win William Carey team with Matthew Davis. Congratulations to him. Pitcher of the year in the league, 2.8 ERA, 98 strikeouts with the 11-2 record in 3 complete games. He's the guy that can lead it off and get you a win to start any tournament. And then it's, can they find those, 2 or 3 more arms that maybe piecemeal it together as that combined third starter to give themselves a chance to win it and get back to the World Series.
That's right. And also Taylor Walters made the all-tournament team in those 3 games for Carey. He went a collective 7 for 11 and also gathered up a handful of RBIs. Get this, he had 8 ribbies through just 3 games. Pretty good performance for Taylor, maybe heating up at the right time from a batting perspective near that top of the lineup. But William Carey getting ready for postseason baseball and softball. We'll wrap things up with you next as you listen to Crusader Talk.
Talking everything William Carey University athletics. This is Crusader Talk on SuperTalk Hattiesburg 97.3 and SuperTalkHattiesburg.com.
All right, final segment with you here on Crusader Talk. Had a lot of baseball, softball action. I hate I missed lunch today with y'all where you got to go record those interviews with Coach Halford and Coach Wendy, Hogue. It's always where some of the best conversations happen is around that lunch table. I need to get around maybe for a Fish Friday or something.
Yeah, and I'm going to be back out there Friday, by the way, and getting some more interviews for next week's podcast after the brackets are revealed and so forth. But what was cool is just running into a couple of the athletes, like a Karen Villau, who is graduating, who wanted to try to get another year, but Karen Villau was going to be graduating and moving on and headed home. And I just got a chance to wish her, just the best of luck moving forward because it's those athletes. You're going to miss those really big personalities when they're gone.
That's so true. And, I think back to some of the different athletes that we've gotten to cover. I almost thought for this show we might try to get like a Matthew Davis. I get to see him at church every now and then. And may get to get a word from him ahead of the I keep wanting to say that, before the NAIA tournament, or if Carey's blessed to move on to Lewiston, may get to talk to him and just hear about what he's accomplished at William Carey and his time here, because it's a pretty cool story for him to go from Arkansas Little Rock, come to Carey, play for a few years, and finish up his career. But yeah, so many cool seniors get to chat with, and I think you told me outside of athletes, you got to catch up with Coach Ryan McKenzie since they've won the SSAC tournament on the women's side. Yeah, I'm sure he's been a pretty happy fella.
Yeah, man. He said, just give him a call. I said, hey, we got to get you back on the podcast. He said, hey, absolutely. I'm ready. Just give me a call. I would love to come back on. But got a chance to see his daughter run a couple of races as a sprinter up at the MHSAA championships and watch her win a couple of gold medals.
Hey,
so,
there you go.
Yeah. It runs in the family. Not only did she win, she was dominant. So let's hope we're talking about her in a Crusader track uniform soon.
Yeah, that could be a lot of fun having her around for that. But just to kind of put a bow on this one, no schedules that we can firmly say, although we do know the dates of things coming up. Again, we'll find out on Wednesday at 5 o'clock for softball who will be coming to the Hattiesburg opening round. And then on the men's side for that release, I know it's going to be Wednesday. It's actually going to be at 4 o'clock Central Time that will drop for us all on the NAIA YouTube channel. So May 6th, mark your calendar, get ready. If you're subscribed, you can get alerts. As they say, get that bell on. You'll get a notification as soon as it comes through. And if you're like me, I don't just sit there and let it play. I just sit there and scrub until I see that William Carey logo. And then I just jump ahead and okay, now I know. Yeah. And then you'll know where Carey's playing and what time.
Well, I spoke with Kevin, and you're not going to get Kevin in all of his glorious shyness to come on the podcast. But Kevin's in all those meetings. Kevin Rosary does so much for us to make our game days easier. And Kevin's going to be in those meetings with everyone in the athletic department. It is going to be a 5-team bracket for softball. Only 1 and 2 seeds are going to get the 4-team brackets, just the top 2 teams in the country. They're going to be setting ticket prices. Looks like the schedule is going to be like 11, 2, and 5 for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, weather permitting. So looks like we're going to be starting. I mean, again, this is just, all of this is going to be solidifying here over the next 48 hours. So be locked on to CareyAthletics.com. Make sure you've downloaded the Carey Athletics app. And then I did ask, and there's a good chance they're going to put out some type of a story, info story with all of the information that you would need. But yeah, it's here. And starting before lunch on Monday the 11th, and ticket prices are going to be set here in the next day or so, and then all the information you'll need for that.
So as it relates to the podcast going forward on the year, we're kind of, for multiple reasons, kind of working this day to day. Obviously, because Josh is going to be on the call for the softball games that are going on over at Joseph and Nancy's place, he will be unable to be on the podcast if we do it live. So we're likely going to go ahead and pre-record our episode and play it back on SuperTalk Hattiesburg live on Monday. The problem is there could be a result already involving William Carey from baseball or softball. So we'll be a little bit out of date by the time you listen to it, but that's okay. We're going to set it up as a preview type episode, try to get some interviews with William Carey personnel, maybe even get a national person to weigh in as well. But that'll be coming up for you on the podcast feed or on the show as it is on SuperTalk Hattiesburg each and every Monday, coming up next Monday, the 11th. So exciting stuff, Josh. I'm looking forward to your calls. Best of luck with all the game preparation involving 5 total teams. At least one you already have a pretty good understanding of in William Carey, but I know that's a lot to hunt down on what is going to be a busy week.
It is going to be a busy week, and coming up on Saturday, I'm going to be up at Mississippi College doing my first ever call for flag football.
Hey,
how about that?
That's pretty exciting. Well, best of luck on that. You've at least done 11-man football, so can't be that different, right? Just a couple different turns of phrase or terminology differences.
Sure.
Well, best of luck there, and we will have that full breakdown for you of the different opening round sites for baseball, wherever they end up, and for softball hosting coming up on the next episode. Barring me having a child between now and then, even so, I may find a way during a nap time to get the pre-recorded version in there. So we're going to fight tooth and nail, just like these baseball and softball teams are, to have you some good content come Monday. So until next time, for Josh West, I'm Caleb Hamill signing off. You've been listening. Oh, excuse me. Let me get the proper sign off. Good night. God bless. Go Satyrs. See y'all.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.